The Arkansas Razorbacks set a new season high in scoring as they defeat the UNC Wilmington Seahawks by a score of 90 to 106. This is Arkansas basketball recap. I'm Dan Price. That's Jacob Price. Sorry for the very long delay. We could not get it together. We watched the game, but holidays, kids' basketball games, all kinds of things. Couldn't
Anniversaries.
Yeah, anniversaries, New Year's Eve, all these things. We could not find a time to get this done, so we're doing it way late. Good news is they don't play. Arkansas doesn't play again until Saturday, so maybe you're interested. Don't worry. Once we get in conference play and the schedule is more consistent on what they are, we'll get it together. But a lot to kind of talk about in this game. This was a big game, bigger than you would think this game would be, because you are talking about a Arkansas team that was struggling, but potentially coming off a game where in the second half you wonder if they found something. Go in there and they have a team coming in that that beats Kentucky at Kentucky. They have a 9-2 record, a team that's very, very high offense. Scores a lot of points. That made you concerned going into this game for sure. And it's just a game that Arkansas just really couldn't afford to drop, and it's a game you could drop, and so this is a game that they needed to win, and it's a good win, and they did get the win, and it does seem like the positive part of it. We'll get into the letting someone score 90, but by the way, they've done that lots and lots of times this year. I don't mean Arkansas, I mean this Seahawks team. They've scored a lot of points a lot of times. But uh, Arkansas does seem like perhaps they found something, at least offensively, and I do think it helps defensively too, but we'll talk about that. But they did find something that I think makes the offense better. Obviously, Keon Manifield goes for 32 points in his first start and looked awesome. I mean, his stat line is kind of outrageous. He's player of the game. I don't think that we would have to debate it. He plays 35 minutes. He goes 8 of 14. Now you might be wondering, like, what did he only make threes? How did he get 32 points on making 8 shots? Well, that would be because he went 13 of 17 from the free throw line. He also gets 4 rebounds, he gets 5 assists. I mean, he was just playing out of his mind. And it does
Hmm.
seem like it wasn't just that he scored so many points. It wasn't that he got to the line so easily, but he got other people easier baskets. I mean, we scored 106 points, and a lot of that was coming off of him, even if he wasn't, obviously he had 5 assists, and so some of those were coming directly to him from him, but some of it was just him making the defense move. He's so fast, and he's so good at getting in the lane, and he's so good at pushing the tempo. And I think you saw like that. That's probably the kind of style that this Arkansas team is going to need to play. Um, is that that's a guy that can push it. And even when you do get jammed up in the half court, he's a guy that can kind of make the defense move around a little bit. So real bright spot. I don't, and I honestly, I mean, I knew Mendenfield was good. I mean, that must brought him in. Uh, it does seem to you're like, oh, I didn't know, Muss, that you were missing your starting point guard. That's who wasn't playing right now.
Yeah, I mean, even though this is, I guess it's only 2 days after the game, but we haven't actually spoken because we've been so busy and stuff. So I don't know how you felt. I mean, I felt like obviously they performed well in some ways, and they got the win and they scored a bunch of points. That looked good. But as far as like coming out of that game, I'm still just as confused, worried, and hopeful. All those same things where it's like I, I mean, it feels like we've said the phrase maybe Muss found something like 15 times this year. You know what I mean? Because coming into that game, if you remember, we were kind of thinking it'll be interesting to see if he goes to this four guard, one big lineup, and he didn't. You know, we
Mm-hmm.
were like, maybe that's something he's found to get more flow up and down is that four guard two or one big lineup. That didn't happen. In fact, it was the wildest. Like that five personnel
Yeah.
sub out, and especially because I've never seen where I'm sure it's happened, but I've never noticed ever in my life seen 10 new players come on the floor at the same
Yeah.
time,
That was
where it's like,
wild.
all right, we played 5 minutes. We're going to just start a whole new game with different guys completely. All that stuff you just learned matchup wise or whatever doesn't matter. We're literally going to put two new teams on the floor and different, like, and literally like different personnel, different bodies. It's like a whole new game plan. That was wild. Um, and
One of the things
maybe,
is well, one of the things that's weird about that is he did do that, but I did think you saw like a little bit of the rotation kind of get locked in a little bit more. Um, because while he did do that, Brazil still played 33 minutes, Menifeld 35 minutes, Mark 24 minutes. That's because he got in foul trouble. Davis 35 minutes. The one thing that's missing there is Battle plays 7 minutes, but that's partially because he got hurt.
mhm,
But
mhm.
it does seem like, and then Graham played 27 minutes. It does he did sort of shrink the minute distribution overall for the game. But that was crazy when he put five guys in it all at one time.
I'm just not sure that I feel like I could be wrong, but it's starting to feel to me like normally he likes to have a tight rotation of like 7 to 8 guys that he really trusts on defense and put them out there. And then maybe you have a couple of guys that you can put in that are specialists if if a team has a certain amount of personnel, like they're a little bit longer or maybe a little bit smaller and quicker. You've got some guys you could maybe mix up a little bit if you have to, or if you get in foul trouble, you stick people in. But it feels almost like this year he's looking around going, okay, I do have a couple of guys that are obviously a little bit of standouts, but on that back end, so he's got like four guys that he's like, I'm going to play these guys excessive minutes. But the other six, there's almost no difference.
Yeah,
There's just, they bring different weaknesses and different strengths. And
yeah.
maybe he's like, I'm going to have to, on a nightly basis, based partially on the other team's personnel and partially on literally when I throw, because it does feel like a lot of them, he's throwing them out there. And he's like, if Ellis starts balling, I'm going to ride him a little bit. If he starts throwing bad passes, I got guys. He's sitting on the bench. And it feels like he's doing that a lot where he's like throwing those guys out there. He's like, let's see how you're doing. The second you make a mistake, I got guys to replace you that are just like, that are basically, I kind of don't know which one's going to be better tonight anyway. And
If you attempt a very difficult oop when we're trying to melt the clock, I'm gonna pull you out immediately. Poor guy. As soon as he did that, I was like, dude, what are you doing? Why would you do that?
that was not that from beyond half court. I mean,
Why? Why are you
yeah.
doing that? Like, don't do that. Like, that's. I mean, dude, even if he dunks that, I'm still like, that's not what he wants you to do right now, man.
Yeah. But as far as the game, I mean, I was again, we've been snake bitten so many, not snake bitten, that's the wrong word, but like I don't know how excited still yet to be about Menefield because we haven't seen enough. And if you looked at the way Battle played the first 3 games
Hmm.
and the way we were talking about him, it was like, well, the one thing that can't happen is Battle can't get hurt because that's like going to be 20 points of our offense every night. And he looked like it was like, I mean, he's shooting 50% from three. He's making crazy falling out of bounds 3 pointers and stuff. It's like, and now the way you feel about him 8 games in, it's not that you like obviously he still has that potential, but you feel a lot different about you see that like he's a little inconsistent, that he doesn't bring some things to the that you love on defense. And it's just you've got a more rounded sort of view of how good he can be and what he brings to the table. And I hope that Manifield continues to do that, but it's hard to know in this kind of game where the subbing is still very strange. And like you said, it's a hard game to analyze defensively because one, this is one of those games where you look at the score and you're like, well, nobody played defense. And it's like, that's not exactly true. It obviously wasn't a intense defensive game, but there were actually moments of really good defense from the Hawks. Well, when they built their entire lead, there was a 7 minute period where they actually really did play good defense. It's just in that plain defense, they got so many extra possessions and they were up and down so fast that you just have a high score, inflated score because They're getting way more
And
shots
and
up,
and that's
and
and that's they're playing against a team that wins on offense. I mean, that's a team that's going to try to outscore you
there was a lot of points scored with the clock stop.
a
A
ton.
lot of free throws shot. So like that score is not necessarily indicative of just nobody, just Olaying everyone to the cup. That wasn't it. There was a lot of physical play, a lot of hard shots made. And it was like I said, a physical, a lot of early fouls, a lot of bonus shooting. Um, and then you just had some guys also make tough shots. I mean, like this is another reason why I don't know exactly what to think about that game. One, I don't know if Menifield's going to give you that every time. He might
No, he's
only
not. He's
right,
not.
and I know Devo Davis isn't going to shoot 75% from the 3-point line every game. You know what I mean? So
Musk did say this is the time. This is the time of year where Devil Davis goes, "Oh, I'm gonna conference plays coming up. Let me get my game right now. Let me get my offense stepped up." He's like, "This is right about the time of year where Devo like flips a switch and says, okay, time to do this."
I do
And
think
which
that
is interesting because that has been the case that for whatever reason Devo is unlike a lot of guys where you'd be like, well, I mean, yeah, he did this against, San Jose State or whatever, but in SEC play, Devo's like the opposite of that. Devo's like just kind of like feeling it out, figuring out what the team's about, and then an SEC play is like the best Devo. Like
mhm.
it is weird.
But honestly, I still think it's a big question mark what this team's going to be. Like
Well,
I'm
let me ask it this way. Here's why I was encouraged because no, Menifield's not going to score 32 points. Maybe again this year. It's a career high for him. Like I wouldn't
mhm.
be surprised if he doesn't do that again all season. But what I do think is transferable to most games is that I think the offense just looks way better with him running it. Like
Yeah,
him
his
being able to
he
him pushing the pace is gonna translate. Like the offense did not look nearly as stuck. Like, and that was true the second half of the Abilene Christian game. It was true the entire time he was on the floor of this game. That's the part that I'm encouraged by, where I think that part you might have solved. Now, it doesn't solve everything on defense, even though I do like Menefield on defense. He's not big, but he is fast and he's not getting blown by because he's quick. But offensively, I think he continues to help you, even if he's like average, even if he ends up averaging 14 points a game. It's not about the points. The points was like great because you're like, wow, this is another guy that can score in bunches. But it was the offense is moving better. It's quicker. We're pushing the pace. Like it's better with him on the floor. And I think his ability to get to the free throw line because of all that speed is probably going to translate to most games. I mean, not he's not going to shoot 17 free throws every game, but he's a dude that is going to. I have a feeling Menifield's going to shoot a lot of free throws this year. Like he's going to get to the line quite a bit.
Yeah, and he has a swagger right now that Battle and Ellis have both kind of lost a little bit. You know what I mean? And he's got some confidence that hopefully he can juice those guys up with
And
because I think we are.
those things I just mentioned aren't things that are as susceptible to streakiness, right? Like you could do those things most games. you know, push the pace, be someone who can get to the teeth of the defense. Or you can do that whether you're making shots or not.
Mhm. Honestly, it just what's the height difference between him and Ellis? Because it honestly seems like they're kind of similar players. It's just that he's maybe a smidge faster, but which obviously helps. But mostly it's that he's a little longer. So when he can shoot, you have to guard him one half a step closer because he can shoot over you a little better. And that gives him a little bit of extra step. And then also, when he's a half a step ahead of you, he can finish without you being able to block him just that tiny bit better. It feels like, you know what I mean?
I think I want to say that I mean you never know, dude. You never know with the way that they list um guys. I mean
I
it's
know because
so
it probably says Ellis is 6'3" or something, right?
let's see. I mean um I'm gonna tell you right now. Um Ellis is listed at 6'3". Yes. and maybe
Not.
he is. But
I don't think so.
Menafield is let's see here. Menafield is listed at, let's see, at 6'1".
Is he really?
He's listed
Doesn't he
at.
seem doesn't he seem longer out there?
Well, he's skinnier, like so he looks lankier,
And he's got
Uh,
that mop too, which I guess
yeah,
it just makes him appear a little bit bigger. But
yeah. I don't think he's that tall, that's for sure. But he's kind of like a little lankier. But I mean, he does have. I mean, he's the fastest guy in the team, I think, without question. I mean, he's. I mean, and he's not just fast; he's quick, right? I mean, he's quick with the ball. Like he's got. Like there was that one play, they showed it over again. They said this can't happen, where he just splits a double team, and that's just
hmm
what like not. That's the kind of stuff that not everyone can do. Where you just like got the ball on a string, you're super quick, and you're just like, I'll just split that, throw an oop, and that's good stuff. I mean, he's one of the things that you've kind of wondered is like who is sort of the point guard on this team, who's running this offense, and right now it seems like he's your for sure your best option.
Oh yeah, no, I mean, if I think if even if you look at that, like, I mean, like I said, it's been 2 days now, but if you think back in the game, I mean, we started with them, and it was pretty much I think it was like 8-5 or something like that, and then they did that. So, and the game was pretty even, and then they subbed in the 5 players, and even though those guys didn't play bad and they had a few moments, I think by the time they went off the court, we flipped to being from being like ahead by 2 or 3 to being down by 3 or 4, and it definitely just and then from there Must just subbed in. I mean, like put Devo back in and put Menafield back in and just kind of subbed a few guys in and out and just kind of mixed it up the whole night. But it definitely flowed better when Menafield was on the court, no matter what was happening, whether
Yeah,
no matter what the group of guys was.
yeah. Tell you what, that White from Wilmington, that dude was a problem. Getting to the basket. I mean, and I know we've talked about guys not being able to stay in front of guys, but that's kind of what that guy's done all season. Is that guy doesn't get stayed in front of, and yeah, he was a problem finishing at the rim, tough shots. I mean, just hard not to foul. It's kind of weird. He was basically doing a lot of things Menafield was doing just on the other end, right?
Yeah, he just didn't have quite as good of uh players to throw it up to when he got in trouble.
Yeah.
And then that other guy was good too. Not what was his name? Phillips.
Yeah, Phillips. I mean, yeah, I mean, White had 28, Phillips had 25,
Yeah,
and
those guys were tough.
yeah, for sure. I
I
mean,
mean, they beat Kentucky.
I mean, that was a good team. I mean,
Hmm
you can feel that very confident that about this that Arkansas, you might say like Furman or whatever. Like, is that Abilene Christian? Are they good? I don't know. Like, we'll see how they do. That was a good team. That team's gonna win games in their league for sure.
hmm
So
Yeah,
it's
I
a
like I
good
said,
win.
I still think Arkansas. I think that like I think I mean the fact that we were able to beat that team by we probably should have beat them by 20.
Mm.
I mean, but they're a tough team, and like I said, it was back and forth, and we still ended up maintaining that 8 to 10 point lead the whole game, or to finish out. But which I was glad of because we'd given up those before and made it like a friggin' nail biter in the last minute. But
Longest game of all time.
so many free throws. Um, but I think the Hogs are again like I just don't think I think they're having a hard time blowing teams out.
Yeah.
I think they're going to, and from looking at the SEC and how tough it's going to be, these are going to be some stressful games, dude. We're going to be, I mean, I think that where there's going to be a couple of games where our shots don't fall, well, we're going to have a pretty frustrating time. But
Yeah.
if I had to guess, I'd say most of these games are going to be 5 point games all the way. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's just going to be a matter can we squeeze enough of them out at the end?
Yeah. I think a couple of other like points of players. Devo, I think, played his best game of the year. I think that's safe. I mean, he was 5 of 7. He ends up with 14 points. He led the team in assists with six. He had 6 assists, 6 rebounds, 3 steals. I mean, he played pretty great. I mean,
Yeah,
it
I
gets a
mean,
little overshadowed by what Menifeld did, but Devo and Devo kind of like did it early and then like let Menifeld cook once he started cooking. And Devo's that kind of guy. He said, "Oh, okay, I'll just do that." But when the game was close, still when they were going back and forth, like Devo really just said, let me knock down, let me do a hat trick. I'll just knock down 3 threes in a row." But defensively, Devo looked really good.
yeah, and those threes they didn't like bounce in. Those they
No,
all looked pretty pure, and then I kind of felt bad for him because he was shooting 100%, and then I think the first shot he missed was like the lot shot clock winding down. He had
he
to
did.
kind of chuck it up from deeper than he would have liked to, but
Yeah.
yeah, I mean he was. I think he hit those three threes and had a layup, but he was shooting 100% with like 8 minutes to go in the game. Like he
Mhm.
hadn't missed a shot all night. He hadn't taken a ton, but
Yeah.
um, yeah, that was
But
pretty cool.
yeah, I thought he played really well. And Tremont Mark has a sneaky 18 points in this game, and he only played 24 minutes because he was in foul trouble. But he has a sneaky 18 points. He goes 5 of 8, so that's great. 7 of 8 from the free throw line. So I thought Mark played really well as well. I thought Graham played better. I think he did himself some favors. He had 16 points in 27 minutes. But the more important thing, and he was 7 of 11, made both his free throws. But the more important thing was he had 6 rebounds. Now this wasn't like a big team that he was going against or whatever, but that's still what he needs to do if he wants to get on the floor. He needs to be rebounding and stuff, and he did rebound better.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'd say he got some putbacks, got some
Mhm.
offensive rebounds. Yeah, he looked pretty good. He made a few mistakes defensively. He had a turnover, I remember, and a lot. He didn't get pulled out for that though. I remember you could see over on the sideline when he made the mistake, a coach slapping the chair. Um, but yeah, I mean, he did a little bit better. I wish though. I mean, I think when you look at it, what did Brazil? Brazil was pretty with other than the couple of
Yeah,
spectacular dunks, he was a little quiet.
yeah, he's 5 of 8. 0 for 1 from three. Didn't shoot a bunch of threes. 2 of 3 from the free throw line. He did have 8 rebounds. He did rebound the ball pretty well. 1 assist, 12 points. You know, um, I still don't think Brazil's assertive enough on offense. Not that I don't want him to be selfish or anything, but like there are every once in a while you'll see him get the ball and just be like, you know what? I'm gonna take like one dribble and 2 huge steps and get all the way. And you're like, man, I just feel like you could do that more often. Like that's like a huge problem when you do that, dude. Like that's a nightmare for a defender.
His body and for college is a little bit like Giannis, and it does feel like he's in kind of the same place that Giannis was in his young career, where he only Brazil probably shoots better than Giannis does
Oh yeah,
at this point. But yeah, he feels like he needs to. Sometimes it feels like he catches the ball too high, but because we don't run a system, we run a flowing thing. Like they're not able to get him necessarily force him the ball where he should probably have it. Which, unlike Graham, I don't think Brazil has a ton of great moves. Like he doesn't love catching the ball on the block with his back to the basket. So it feels like they need to. I mean, I don't know how. I mean, you'd have to run plays to do this, but or they need to be thinking about when somebody's driving has the ball and is at all running baseline on the side, they need to look for Brazil catching the ball inside the 3 point line facing the basket. And honestly, this is the way I like to play too. I my best offensive game is when I have a good point guard that's probing the defense and I can catch the ball headed towards the basket. Even if I have to go around some guys and make a move, I'm just better facing the basket where I know where I am and stuff. You know what I mean?
yeah,
And it feels like Brazil's that way, but he catches the ball, and when he does make the move, sometimes he's at the 3 point line. He's having to take too many dribbles. You know what I
yeah,
mean? It's just like you don't want him. You don't want him doing the point guard thing where it's like I'm up top at the top of the key. I just had a screen rolled out, catch the ball. Now I'm literally driving from behind the 3 point line. I feel like we want him catching the ball at about the free throw line, or maybe just past it, so he can only one dribble, Giannis dunk. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying?
Yeah. But there's sometimes too where he just goes out and he gets all the way to the basket and just kind of like tosses it in. I mean, he's so long and bouncy that like it's like even if it's not a dunk, you just get all the way to the cup and I don't even know what to do about it. Like a guy a foul him. I mean,
Mhm.
that's about all you can do. So, but I didn't think he played bad. I thought he rebounded the ball well and
Did you listen to the coaches after game
I listened to Muss.
thing? Because
Yeah.
I did he say anything about? Because I should have listened to that, but it felt to me like he maybe, and I just wonder if it was explicit, but it felt like even part of Graham getting more minutes and everybody, like they were told, we're taking too many tough two pointers. Like we're shooting a lot of dribbling around fadeaway two pointers that are, 14, 16, 18 foot, and we're not hitting a high enough percentage of them. Mark, now that's his game, but even he can be streaky at that times because everybody's streaky at a 17-foot fadeaway. But Battle's taking a bunch of them. Bevo's taking some of them. It felt like it felt like he was like, we got to get easier buckets. We
Well,
got to
I
shoot
I
a
know that
higher volume of easy
I
buckets.
I know the goal. I know they had a goal coming in of getting 50% of their points in the paint. And
Okay.
you might be like, well, yeah, but you have to remember like that doesn't include free throws. So what you're saying is that you want half your points to come from into the paint, not just two pointers, but like into the paint, and then the other half can come from three pointers, jump
No,
shots outside the paint, free throws.
in the paint's
Yeah,
a totally different thing than two pointers.
yeah,
We've been
and
taking
and they
out of the
did,
paint two
yeah,
pointers.
and they did do that. So
Yeah,
he was like very
and it
happy
felt
about
like
that.
playing Graham all those minutes, like Graham is like going to force you to try to get those kind of points.
Yeah, and Muss is always like a huge FTA guy. I mean, so he always wants free throws attempted. Like he's like, I mean, if we don't shoot 20 free throws in a game, like he is not happy about it.
Well, and that's the other
And
thing about shooting two pointers that you don't see in the stat sheet is even if you make all your two pointers, the one thing you do by shooting a dribbling in and shooting a fadeaway two pointers, we always say it's the Kobe Bryant. It's literally the unguardable shot. If you dribble in and you have any kind of ups at all and you shoot, jump, fadeaway, and you make it, you just have to take your hat off to guys. The problem is it's really hard to get fouled on that shot.
yeah,
You know what I
yeah,
mean? Like you don't pick up a lot of it's an all or nothing shot. You're out of position. You can't rebound off of that shot. I mean, the guy shooting it, I'm saying. He has no shot at rebounding because he's moving away from the basket, and you really rarely get fouled unless somebody's really being aggressive. So you do take those two things off the table when you're kind of bailing the other team out. So you better be, like I said, you better be Mark or Kobe if you're shooting those. We don't need too many of those shots going up
yeah,
from other players.
yeah. And and Battle was interesting too. I know he got dinged up, but he was. I don't know if I mean I'm sure he would have went he would have played more obviously if he didn't get dinged up, but it does seem that Muss is kind of maybe wanting him to improve some stuff as well. I mean he like twisted his ankle and like hobbled over and then just jacked up a three and then like went to the and I know that Muss is probably not happy with that. Uh, that's not what you want. And
Shoot,
so
gotta shoot.
yeah, so they figure some stuff out. But all right, man. Well, we'll see how it all translates. It's on now, dude. Saturday, Auburn in Bud Walton. I mean,
There's
it's
no easy games now, dude.
no, yeah. So it's on, and I don't even know. I'll be very interested. I don't even know what I think going into SEC play. We will see.
I'm nervous. Like I said, there's equal parts from what we've seen so far. I mean, I definitely there's a version I could feel more confident. Like I can imagine the team playing in a way that's like more understandable. We've got a locked in, rotation. You have more defined positions and you know what you have. And I feel at least a little bit more confident. I got to say, the Manifield thing is definitely reason for hope. There's, you know, the just that last performance gives you lots of reason. You hope that they can duplicate some things in that. But I'm probably more nervous than I am hopeful. Like I
Yeah,
don't know what this team is going to be yet.
I know it's. I mean, I didn't necessarily know this. No one could have known this for sure going in. I feel better going into SEC play with Benefield as an option than without. I mean, I didn't know that going, 4 games ago, but yeah, he definitely gives you this thing where you're like, oh, like okay, that might be it's one of those things where you're like, that could be. Is Benefield becoming eligible? The thing, like, is that the thing? Like, do we look back? Are we talking back at the end of the season, or halfway through SEC play, and we say, yeah, like really the season turned when Benefield was eligible to play. That really turned everything kind of turned on that. Maybe it's that it gives you something that could is at least there where you're like that. Maybe that's it. Maybe that's what you needed.
Yeah, it's something. I have a feeling it'll definitely at least be some percentage of the thing, probably, if unless and like I said, unless we just fall apart. But if we do have any success and we manage to get into the tournament and stuff, it'll definitely be some percentage of the thing. I think some other things are going to have to materialize too. You know what I
Yeah,
mean? Some players are going to have to uh, not change everything, but they're going to have to play better, more consistently uh, in
especially on
order for us to,
especially on the defensive end.
yeah.
Yeah,
So
because you
we'll
score
see.
106 points, you're like the offense was pretty good.
Mhm.
The defense is still the thing I'm most concerned about, uh, for sure.
Yeah, it's weird. For some reason, you'd rather win a game 85 to 68 or something like that. You know what I mean? It feels like more like, okay, we did pretty well on offense and pretty well on defense. Whereas when you score that much, but like I said, if you watch the game, it was just one of those that just happens sometimes.
A lot of
Sometimes you get into these
possessions in that
games.
game. A lot of
Mhm.
possessions.
And like I said, a lot of free throws, a lot
Yeah.
of points scored.
Yep.
So,
All right, man. Well, I'll see you on Saturday.
all right, happy New Year, everybody.
Happy New Year, guys. See you.